Hi everybody and welcome to this little tutorial on how to edit night photography photos. So this is Armstead Crag. We took it on Tuesday night. There was 3 torches, one with blue, which is very bright on this photo, one with red, which is a bit more subtle, and one with green. We were studying the positions. Over here was the blue torch, over to the far right was the green, and I was on the red, and I was probably just directly behind this big boulder. And that's just to create these puddles of shadow and light into which you get all these cool textures. Now you noticed we did deliberately go very bright with these, but not overexposed. So if you look at the histogram, we're just about in there. Now the reason we like to go overexposed or bright on night photos is that you get a lot of noise on night shots if you underexpose and try to brighten them. So we find it's better to overexpose on the night, but not blow out the highlights, and then you can create the moody shot by reducing the exposure. Now you can see there we've instantly got quite an exciting sort of result, much more interesting than the really bright one. But if we have a little zoom in, this is from a SONY camera, I think. As you can see, it's pretty noise free there. There's a bit of a sharpening focus issue with it. It's not quite there, is it? But you get the idea. Okay, so we've got 3 colours. How do we, I'm not going to touch the highlights, shadows and blacks for now. What I want to do is balance up these 3 colours. So luckily in our hue, saturation, luminance panel down here, we can click on luminance and this little eyedropper tool here, and for anything we want to darken we can click on it and drag down. So let's darken this blue a bit because it's a bit on the bright side, isn't it? Let's say we wanted a little bit more green, so click on the green and then push our mouse up the screen. See how that brightens that up? So that's less blue, more green. And the thing I really want to do, I want to make this creepy red a little bit brighter. So click on the red and look at that. There you go. So that's as far as we can go with that slider. So maybe bring the green down a little bit further. So we get this sort of a lot darker, a lot creepier, but we've got more control over what's going on. One thing that is annoying me is this little dot over here. Now because it's a point of light, it's glowing, and you've got like a bright bit and then it gradually gets darker and darker and darker as you move away from it. This is a kind of thing which Lightroom is rubbish at getting rid of, and I'll show you why. So I'll just draw over it like that. We're on the spot removal tool. For a start, it always chooses the wrong place. I mean, why it's chosen there, I suppose it's trying to match the edge of this rock up, isn't it? But I'm just going to take it over to that dark area. So if we click done, it kind of leaves you a little bit of a glow. Now if you've got Lightroom CC, you'll also have Photoshop, so it's worth after the event popping it into Photoshop just to lasso that and maybe do a content aware fill, just to get rid of that weird glow that's going on. Anyway, so that's that problem solved. That's gone. So now we can come back to our sliders over here. Now we're on. Looks like this guy was on a very cool. But if you want to take advantage of the orange that's in the sky, you can just up the white balance a little bit. So we'll leave it there. And add a bit of clarity to it, add a bit of vibrance, and you see how it really brings out that sort of those colours even further. Now let's see what happens if we bring the whites up. So all these this point here across there, that bit of sky there, the rock, all the faces of the rocks start to stand out a little bit. Now, there is a taste threshold with this sort of stuff. You don't go too bright because it starts to look a little bit of a headache. So you can kind of control just by tweaking away with the highlights. But what you'll find is if you take the highlights down too far, if you look at this edge, the highlights actually creates this halo. So from here to here is quite dark. I'll just take the highlight. So if you see what it's done there, that's a big problem with these night shots. If you've got something dark and then something bright right next to it, so really be aware of that. Clarity does it also, but I'll have a look what's happened over here now. You can see what's happened there. Photoshop for that one. Anyway, so shadows, you can either open them up or close them down. We're doing a night shot with the sort of lighting from different directions to create shadows. So in a way, you want to be making sure you've got some dark areas, you know, some mystery, some areas where you don't know what's going on. I've just spotted a bit of a spot in the sky here. Look, there's one there. So we'll just quickly get rid of that. That's what Lightroom is good at getting rid of. So really, that's a good start point. What you could do, if you didn't have Photoshop, by the way, is crop that out. I think we'll still get a decent shot. Maybe go for a square photo. Yeah, that works out quite well actually, because now I like this bit of red here, so I'm going to come across to there, so that red patch I'm on, got my mouse on's in, and you've got this creepy path going on. It's all tweaks and just taste really. So let's go down the controls. Detail wise, well, as I say, I think this had probably a focus issue. That's one thing you've really got to be careful of when you're doing night photography. You've got to shine a torch on something and make sure you've got the focus nailed, and then switch your autofocus off, so you always get a nice sharp image. One last step I always recommend is a bit of a vignette. You know, suck the viewer's eyes towards the middle of the photo. So that is one. Oh, malware bites. Yep, it was very good. I don't need it anymore. So we've done that one, and this chap has lent me another raw file, which is this one. So rather than go through all that again, what you can do is control and click on the other one. So you got the main one selected, control and click, hit sync, and we'll just uncheck all, just so we can starting from a clean plate. So we didn't add any profile stuff, we did change the white balance, we did lots of stuff with the exposure and contrast, so I'll just copy all that. We didn't do a tone curve, we did clarity, we didn't do dehazing, I did sharpen it, I did do some colour stuff. I'm not going to do any of the local, we didn't do any local stuff anyway. No noise reduction, didn't do any of that or that. I did add a vignette, I didn't do any calibration, I don't want any copying, and the spot will be in a different place, so I'm going to copy the spot removal. So just by choosing what I've actually done on the first photo, I can copy those settings across to the other one, and before we've even blinked, we've got a more interesting photo. So the first thing is, whoever's on yellow just accidentally showed us the torch, but that's very easily sorted on a sky area. Now on this one, what I would probably do, just to show you something different, is get the brush tool, which is this thing here. I'm gonna maybe, let's go for white, clarity and sharpness. Now I've just arbitrarily selected those, and I'm gonna have a flow of about 50%. So what I'm going to do, I'm just in areas where I think it could just do with a bit of a brightness, and I want you to draw your eye towards. I'm just going to draw over that. So it's quite subtle, those settings. So I might just, if I'm just playing with the white slider there. So to make this work, I might even just make it add a bit of shadows, you know, to it as well. So let's just maybe brighten this green up a little bit, because it's on 45. It's you layer it up as you brush over. So let's say we want a bit of this path down here, just a little low, like that. And how about this red? Okay. So that's all very subtle. And then click on a new one. Let's say we wanted to really brighten an area up. What we could do is add exposure as well. If you want to see where you've been, you can click on this button down here and it will show you where your effect's going to happen. Now that's not done a lot, so let's just add loads of exposure just to... There we go. So this area down here really didn't have a lot of light, that's why it's not showing as much. There we go. That's just to add some light in there. Now, even with a powerful i7 computer, Lightroom is a bit of a slow dog when it comes to this kind of stuff. And if you're doing dodging and burning a lot, which is what this is essentially, it's making things brighter or darker, I find Photoshop's infinitely preferable just because it's faster. And you can, because I'm drawing over there and there's a little delay before it applies it. So if you've got Photoshop, that's another thing I'd use in there. Right, okay, so we've quickly edited 2 shots. So if we have a look at the first one, if I do a create virtual copy and Control Shift and R to reset it to where it was, so that's the raw file. And that's the output, and we'll do the same here with this one. So create virtual copy of this one. I've not even cropped that one actually, and then Control Shift and R resets it. So that's start point, and that's the end point. So I hope that helps give you some ideas on how I go about editing these night photos. It's a different look to what you may go for, so obviously do your own thing, but I quite like the dark moodiness of these sort of images. And can't wait to get cracking on the next 3 night photography workshops, which I've got in January at Ilkley Moor, February at Brimham Rocks near Ripon, and the big one is up at Malham. We're going to go to Gordell Scar and paint that different colours. Thanks for watching.